All right. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Austin. Very pleased to have on the channel cryptocurrency YouTuber, blockchain game developer, LA local, and friend of the channel, Elliot from Elio Trades. Man, how you doing today?
Thanks, guys. Thank you for that intro, and it's a real pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, man. How you been doing on your side of Los Angeles?
Oh gosh, in my side of Los Angeles, things have gotten pretty bleak. So I'll actually be moving westward because the cool part of LA has gotten a lot less cool of recent. So I don't know. I think you're probably experiencing something a little similar out there in Hollywood as well.
What
Absolutely.
what part of the town, generally speaking, are you moving to? Like all the way to the West Coast, or
Not all the way west, but closer west. Definitely just a little sleepier part of town. I mean, now that we all work from home, and there's pretty much like the value add from being close to stuff has been diminished so much. I'm just valuing so much more my sort of peace and quiet and restfulness and all that. And my family's over on that side of town, so just being close to them.
And for the cryptocurrency audience at home, let me lay out the agenda for the conversation today. Nothing
Awesome.
financial advice, just two people having some coffee or whatever you're drinking, talking crypto. But one of the things that I love about your channel, Elliot, is how I can see your passion. I can see your passion when you talk about finding the next DeFi trend, whether it be a low cap altcoin or NFT, and you're willing to dive deep. So besides from finding the next big trend, we're going to talk about big picture Bitcoin, what to expect in cryptocurrency in 2021. The video is time-stamped below. So everybody watching, find the timestamp that works for you. But let's jump in, and I'll start with just your thoughts on a big picture Bitcoin. You've been in this space for a few cycles now. What do you see playing out as we end 2020 into 2021 for Bitcoin?
So, Bitcoin is like it's like the floor that we stand on in crypto. Because, you need, in order for any of these things to work, you need value. And so, I see Bitcoin as the value holder. It's the wrapper of the wealth. But it doesn't achieve all the goals or all the possibilities, right? And so I see the Bitcoin's growth is like lifting the floor, right? And it lifts. It's the tide that lifts all the ships. And in the end, to me, we know this isn't speculative anymore. We see the Bitcoin being wrapped. We know that it's being deployed in other ecosystems, and that it's making its way quite literally into other chains and ecosystems. Not like before, where people would sell their Bitcoin and buy other coins, but now it's quite literally living on other chains. And so, I think Bitcoin's role gets stronger with DeFi and throughout these trends. And I think that a growing Bitcoin just provides so much opportunity for innovation. And, I'm just a big believer and passionate about these next generation of products, because I'm a big believer that products are what changes our behavior. And so if we want people to start using crypto, we need great products. And I think a great example is looking at Tesla and what Elon Musk did for electronic vehicles. Nobody liked them. But then you give me a Tesla. Oh, I'm not driving an EV, I'm driving a Tesla. And so once you get these types of lifestyle improvements that come with good products, I think that that's what flips people's brains. And so, that's why I'm so passionate about the new products, is because I know that there will be one of them that catches on.
In the far, far future, what percent of the total crypto market cap do you see Bitcoin taking?
Yeah, I saw you guys interview CZ about this, and I think that he had a pretty on point response, which is that, I see crypto coins quite a bit like websites, in that there are some that are very, very valuable, like google.com, and there are some that are completely useless and nobody ever goes to. And I think that there's going to be the spectrum just like that of coins. Obviously, it's not a direct one-to-one comparison here, but I think there's going to be millions and millions of coins, maybe even more, right? And so the question is not, to me, how much of those millions is Bitcoin, but it's how many of those are really valuable, highly useful, and beneficial benefit our society. And so I think the Bitcoin dominance metric is personally a bit silly, because I don't think it really is a competition between cryptocurrencies. I think it's more of a question of how much is the total market cap of crypto? How much are people using these technologies? There was a statement that CZ put out about, competing with Ethereum on his Binance Smart Chain. I don't know, I don't mean to quote CZ every 2 seconds in this interview, but he was like, we're in the 0.01%. Why are we competing with each other? We should be competing outside of crypto. And that's why I've been pushing so hard to build video games, as that's an area I see as a very easy on-ramp. When you're having fun, you learn new things, you try new things when you're playing games. And so I just think it's a good way, but it's not the only way. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing if Bitcoin drops to a very low dominance, as long as the total market grows. And I see that those two trends happening together. So I see Bitcoin dropping pretty low over the course of the next few decades, but that's healthy to me, right? It's, what if there was just one website and only everyone used one? It doesn't make sense, right? And so Bitcoin is beautiful. It's also very inflexible. And so if we want crypto to sort of become an internet product, it needs to just be iterated on a lot. And so I think it's all healthy for Bitcoin to slip low in the dominance and still be way higher in value.
Now, you often see some Bitcoin maximalists say that, oh, it's Bitcoin, not blockchain. Like, what do you think about that? You must think they're incorrect. They're not thinking about it.
I just wonder what went wrong for these people, that they are so upset by these new innovations. And I think at the beginning that Bitcoin and another coin were just direct competitors, right? And there's no difference. But now when you're seeing things like look at Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum's a great example. What does Ethereum allow you to do versus Bitcoin? They're completely different universes. So, to compare even Bitcoin to Ethereum in a competitive way is, to me, like missing the boat. Let's look at what Ethereum does for Bitcoin and vice versa. I think they both are extremely synergistic now, where Bitcoin provides this gold 2.0 narrative where you have this value holder, which you desperately need, and then you can deploy it in interesting ways on Ethereum. You have the higher level, the dApp level above that. And I just think that if you're a fan of cryptocurrencies going mainstream, well, we certainly don't have what we need in place for them to go to mainstream, and if you just want to wait 10 years for essentially the world to fall apart so Bitcoin grows in value, I just don't think it needs to happen like that, right? We turn to Instagram because, and mobile web because of the App Store and the iPhone. You don't need to have it take away from this to add over here. I think by creating and keeping with the experimentation phase, we can push that adoption to come sooner. And so I'm personally a big believer in tinkering. I know that there's going to be a lot of bad products and useless products, and I think we're seeing that right now. But for every one of 10, 100 of these bad ones, we will get some value. And so that's why I stay optimistic.
'Tis the nature of an unregulated space. So I think you've said, because I want to move on to Ethereum and other things, I think you've said, like, in your opinion, Bitcoin is a sure thing. But Ethereum, do you think Ethereum as a sure thing?
I think so, yeah. And the reason is because the narrative is no longer the Ethereum killer, right? The Ethereum, the narrative is now the Ethereum scaler, the Ethereum interoperator. You're not what is Polkadot? Polkadot is not here to kill Ethereum. Polkadot is here to maximize Ethereum, and we've seen that the whatever Ethereum created in its early days was irreplicable. We didn't see that community and the money fracture into EOS, despite all the money in the world, all the benefits in the world, billions of dollars and connections. We didn't see it happen on Tron. We didn't see it happen on any of these Ethereum killers. And so I think it would be quite foolish to think that we're just going to see another smart contracts blockchain just unseat Ethereum. Ethereum is that base layer for these new assets. It's where people want to set up shop. And then we just need to figure out how to make it better.
Yeah, and that's happening right now. If you look into the ecosystem, that's not something that might happen with Cardano or Tron. That is happening. But some of the biggest critiques I hear on Ethereum from maximalists are it's hard to run a full node, it's getting harder, it's trending towards being more centralized. You probably hear a lot of these same things. Do you have any response to that?
It's you have what's this called the trilemma in blockchains. You know, good, you have fast, cheap, and secure, and so there's just you can't have all three, and so you just see trade-offs, right? And certain use cases will be better for certain trade-offs. Some use cases you need more speed, you don't care as much about security. Some use cases you need all the security and you can sacrifice the speed. And so to me, it's just comparing this to early internet is what I like to think about. You know, how many people saw themselves doing exactly this, having conversations face to face online in the 90s. It was not fathomed. But over time, the systems get better, more useful. And I think that's what's going to happen for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I don't think it's about killing Ethereum. I think other smart contracts, blockchains might end up obsolete, but I think Ethereum will just continue to grow and evolve.
Looking into 2021 for DeFi Ethereum, what are you most excited for? What are your biggest concerns for DeFi?
So, you know, I see DeFi generally as active money. Like, you can dress it up in a lot of different ways, but I replied to a Pomp tweet the other day, and Pomp was just sort of like, yeah, well, I've just started reading up on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is clearly the first DeFi product, and a lot of these are scams, but I just want to know what's good. And, you know, I do think Bitcoin's the first DeFi product. In fact, I say that privately a lot. I think Bitcoin is how is it not decentralized finance? It's decentralized wealth. It's a component of DeFi. And now we're adding other layers. And so I think Bitcoin is an amazing innovation. But again, the desire to earn yields is in every corner of the financial world. Earning yields has a spectrum of risks and a spectrum of rewards. And so just like the financial world, we're seeing that here. If you want to hop into the next meme coin that's offering 10 million% APY, well, you have to understand that increased reward is most likely coming with a significant risk. And so it's just about, and yes, there are scams, of course, but I think that in general, DeFi is the simple act of finding yield in a variety of ways. And I think that that's something that is it's been going on in crypto for a while, but it's been sort of formalized with the term DeFi, and given these different mechanisms with borrowing, lending, and yield farming. But yeah, I see it as the beginning of all cryptos will want to find yields going forward, just like all money sitting in any bank account or in any kind of financial instrument has some kind of yield attached, even if it's zero.
This last bubble that we saw, you know, Bitcoin is just starting to carry us into potentially the next leg up. But the last bubble I thought was the DeFi, the yield farming bubble, where there's all these Yam coins, people trying to find the next big thing, get the most yield. Was that just the tip of the iceberg, you think? Or what is next for yield farming, and your thoughts on governance tokens in general?
So I'll unpack those one by one. I think this is the tip of this iceberg, and it's a little scary because what we saw felt like full-blown 2017 euphoria mania, people aping, aka complete gambling, into random coins by completely anonymous teams whose logos are literally emojis. Is there anything that could get more crazy than that? You know, people of credibility too doing this stuff, and it's like, as crazy as I hate to say it is, I believe that this is just the beginning, because in the end, the market's going to grow. And as the market grows, the opportunity for something to launch at a $500,000 market cap and grow to 5 million, well, that'll become easier and easier and easier with more liquidity. And so I think that it is the tip of the iceberg, as scary as the Yams revolution was, and as devoid of logic as a lot of it was. If you really pull back the layers there was something there, right? There was something within Yams that people found value in. And there was something within each one of these projects that could lead to a more sustainable ecosystem, whether that be the yield whether that be the elastic supply, whether that be the fair launch. There's aspects here that I believe have made progress. Despite it seeming a little bit like a sea of garbage, you can kind of start seeing how all these projects have started, iterating based on the other ones, and we're seeing projects get fairer, provide more value, and be more interesting in general. And that's why you're seeing a lot of copying. But I think it's the imitation is flattery between the projects, and we can talk about this as we talk about NFTs, as I know you guys want to talk about a little later on. But I believe that all these mechanisms are things that would enhance things that already have value. And so it's all kind of tinkering and R&D for as you start bringing in real sort of inherently valuable underlying assets and systems. And then you add these interesting sort of yield farming and DeFi mechanisms on top. And now you've got something really, really compelling.
Did you yield farm?
Oh yeah. No, I did it all. I did all the things. I did the good things. I did the bad things. I made a ton of money. I lost a good amount of money. But I think it's important to not to check your biases, right? Like I wanted to be condescending towards a lot of these projects, but if the market's so aggressively adopting certain concepts, then I don't want to be the person covering my eyes and ears and ignoring it. I want to understand it. And I think in crypto, the easiest way to understand things is to participate and to, try it, and you can explain these things, but it's much easier to go try to deposit some tokens on Aave and then stake them, or then try to deposit something on YFI and get some yield, compare it, do some math, see if that risk reward analysis is right for you. It's much easier to learn by doing. And so, yeah, I tried most of these products, some to great success, some I timed beautifully, some I got completely crushed. And I think that's part of being a part of this experiment that we're all a part of right now.
And as you said at the top, it's a high risk game, so be careful. But for a new investor coming into cryptocurrency today, in your opinion, what sort of percent allocation do you think they should have?
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? And people want me to share my portfolio, but like you guys, I'm sure I have the opportunities to earn different types of cryptocurrencies, and I have such a deep crypto life that just because my portfolio sits like this doesn't mean that that's how I'd allocate. You guys do amazing videos where you do, if I had $1,000 today, here's how I'd spend it. And I think that's a better question than what's your allocation, because my allocation isn't necessarily how I would spend that 1,000. But the reality is, the factual reality is that when you're looking at top 50 cryptos, most of them have done 100x or more growth. Most of them, not all of them. Some of them started at really high valuations. And when you're looking at an asset that's gone up 100x, then you're saying, well, if it were to give me like a 10x from there, then you're essentially asking for that asset to go up to 1,000x or 10,000x, right? And you need to understand that for a lot of these assets, that's potentially asking maybe too much, and that they would need kind of world-changing adoption on the scale of like a Bitcoin to do that. And I think Bitcoin is has that. Ethereum has that, and we've seen a couple new coins that might get in there, right? Like a Polkadot, like a Chainlink. You're seeing these coins that have the potential to maybe be the real Coca-Cola of their categories, right? And then you see, to me, I like to look for, I think the easiest way to go through the market is to find those first movers. Very difficult. Very much easier is to find second and third movers that are strong projects, and understand that if they're way smaller and they're having a very strong value prop similar to something 10, 100, sometimes 1,000x bigger in the space, well, that's a potential opportunity. And so I believe the best opportunities are in newer coins that have not had parabolic growth. I believe that's also extremely, extremely risky, and that you need to be highly versed in how crypto moves to play these well. But I also believe that that's where the true, life-changing kind of gains come from, right? That's where you can get that 1,000x. If something's gone 1,000x, the idea that it would 1,000x again is not ludicrous, but it's very much so less likely. And you have people who are holding that who have already been up 1,000x. So those people are highly incentivized to dump on you as it goes higher. So there's a human element and there's just a straight mathematical element where I believe that it's hard work, but if you learn the game, don't trade for a while, just learn the game, track trades, do paper trades, and learn how these products can sometimes explode. Sometimes the ones that are going crazy will just absolutely just completely capitulate and dump. But learning to identify good projects early, I think, is the critical skill to getting ahead, because most of those top 20, top 50 alts, they're only going to move when the whole market is just absolutely explosive and like crazy. And we've seen that those top alts barely even moved during this alt cycle, right? They barely moved. And so people who are holding those big alts from last cycle, just still, setting their, spiritual crystal arrangements and praying for the crypto gods to bless them, I think that they got really left behind. And so, I believe that crypto moves at light speed. And so you have to constantly update your strategies. And this cycle kind of proved that the new coins, staying on the new developments, is really what you have to do if you're playing it with altcoins. Because there are a lot of ghost coins in those top 50 that maybe they're great, maybe they made a lot of money, maybe they have a lot of money, but the market's simply not pricing their token for gains.
And what the folks at home need to understand is, I would assume that Elliot already has his Bitcoin HODL position all staked out. So this trading he's doing, that's something different from cost averaging Bitcoin, I guess.
Yeah, like if you have no Bitcoin and you're looking for something that's kind of an alternative to a savings account, I think that that's a great way to see Bitcoin as a long-term savings account. You want to put that money away and not touch it for years. But you have a lot of people coming into crypto that are like, hey, I want to find this 10x. I want to multiply my money. I actually don't have a lot of money. And so while it's extremely risky and those people could get completely wrecked, the reality is that the stories you've heard about the people coming in and making, their college tuition back and all that stuff, it's not coming from just investing in the top 3 obvious coins. They're doing the work and they're finding underpriced, undervalued opportunities, which is hard to do. It's not easy to do. If it was easy to do, we'd all be sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars by now, but it's hard work, and don't let anyone tell you it's easy. I think there's a difference between fast and easy, and people think just because it happens fast that it happens easy, and those two don't go together. You have to work for many, many hours before figuring out that a trade is right. And so, I have my Bitcoin hodls. I don't have FOMO when Bitcoin goes up. But I also have, I'm a firm believer that understanding the narratives and the cycles, and that if you're in an altcoin cycle, positioning yourself in the trending narratives is the way to do it. And we know what the trends are right now, which is, DeFi, interoperability, Ethereum scaling, oracles, I guess, in general. So
NFTs,
and now NFTs, which is amazing.
You describe yourself as an NFT maximalist, which I know is a bit of a joke because you like Bitcoin too. But could you describe to the audience, because it's still somewhat unknown, even if you are in crypto, what is the revolution here with non-fungible tokens, and maybe what catalyst is needed for NFTs to go mainstream next year?
Yeah, so I think that part of the misnomer, the misconception here is that if you like NFTs, you can somehow bet on NFTs as a space and grow with it. And that's just not the reality. The reality is that each NFT is completely unique. And so, there's very few easy ways to just blanket and get exposure to the space. This is a little different than DeFi, where you could say, hey, here's 10 DeFi tokens, buy them all, 10% each, and you have a DeFi portfolio. NFTs represent just the ability to kind of store anything on the blockchain. And I think that the advantage they have is that it's not a direct competition for the things that people are too ingrained in their heads as facts, which is, why do I need another dollar? I have my US dollars. They work fine. And so I think that's a lot of problems for people with Bitcoin is, why would I want another money? I have my money. So I think the thing that NFTs bring is the ability to just bring anything onto the blockchain in any form, even baskets of coins or assets, real world assets, digital assets. I think what NFTs are is just sort of this wholly untapped resource. But it's also hard because you're not going to be able to just ride on a trend that easy. You're going to have to really do work to find assets of value. But I also believe that the opportunity there to really bring new people into the space is huge. And that's why I've been focusing on games, because across the entire world, the place that people are buying digital stuff is within video games. And I think, there's 2.5 billion gamers in the world, and many of them are very, very well positioned to become crypto heads. They just don't know it. And so that's kind of my position is, of all these assets, of all these types of assets, that's one I could see totally getting popular.
And do you think that, I don't know, I guess the future for a lot of these cryptocurrencies is just varying levels of centralization, right? Like if it's if you have a game, it's going to be controlled by the company.
Yeah, so I think there's various ways that it could happen, right? And if you're talking about an in-game crypto, yes. But there's no need to have an in-game crypto per se. You could have all the assets on the blockchain without it having a currency for the game. And so to me, it's there's a balance. But yeah, there's 100% issues with centralization. And as you guys well know, you can make the case of centralization even for Bitcoin, even for Ethereum, right? And so I don't think to me, it's less about finding a perfect system. And I know that the general audience doesn't know or really, we're talking about people outside crypto, the concept of decentralization has probably never occurred to most of them. And in fact is seen as a positive for a lot. You're talking about, I have friends that live in China. They see the sort of authoritarian government as a strong positive. They like that. We see a brand like Nike, like Google. We like that. We know that this was made by Nike, made by Google, made by Apple. And so, I think that the concept of decentralization is important, but not a marketing ploy, right? It's only marketing for the 0.0000% of people inside the Uniswap ecosystem, maybe. And so I think that there are issues with centralization, but I see it as phases. Let's first get people even using this stuff. Let's get them involved. Let's get them having, some exposure, which is why the PayPal news today, I see it all as positive, right? Because is this a perfect system? No, not even close. But is this slightly closer? Is this slightly closer than what we had before? Yeah. And so I see it happening in phases. And so it's like the Rome wasn't built in a day type thing. Let's just get people even touching this stuff. And then we can try to get better.
What are the most popular NFT? I know Rarible marketplaces and also NFTs or coins, I guess. What's the hype right now?
So the hype, there are several hypes going on, but essentially the biggest issue with NFTs is that they're not valuable. That's the problem. You have these assets, but they're like a CryptoKitty, I think is just the greatest example. This was the first NFT craze. Did they create the ERC 721? Regardless, it was the first instance of people taking just not tokens and trading them. Well, I guess they're tokens, but not actual currencies. And it was just a cat. And the cat was rare. But what does the cat do for me? And I can screenshot that cat and put it all over my wall. And there was a lot of issues to me, but it demonstrated that there is a demand for rare things online. But the problem is that they weren't valuable. And so that's another reason why video games I think of as a really good entree for this, because, okay, so what? You screenshotted my character, but you can't play as that character in the game. Only I can because I have the token. So now there's utility. I think that physical stuff, maybe that's 5-10 years away, because, okay, so I buy your NFT for a car. How do I get the keys? Who do I call? Who's holding the car? There's a ton of systems that are still very much so not developed. So while I love it when people talk about, NFTs for like houses and deeds and whatever, it feels very, very far away to me before that's actually a really sensible system. Whereas we can create a smart contract that would allow you to flip video game assets, that's already exists. So the biggest missing link to me there's no games. Well, there are games, but there's very few, and there's no hit games. And so, if Fortnite were to introduce this, it would be massively successful. So the missing link to me is in the actual product. And it brings us full circle again to the product thing, which is if we had one great, amazing game that was really popular, I think everyone would be a crypto head overnight, because why not? The problem is that a lot of these game studios are actually kind of disincentivized to add crypto, because if you can buy it, if Austin can buy it from literally any one of our other players, then it takes away from the game studio's bottom line. And so, Fortnite, if someone wants a skin, they got to buy it firsthand. There's no trading. And so there's really no incentive for them to add these features. In fact, they would probably lose money. But we see it as a long play of once people get that vitamin that they feel makes their experience better, they'd be more interested in sort of pressuring other developers to add it. But I see the big studios kind of dragging their feet, and for good reason.
So do you think any significant gaming adoption will happen this cycle, or it's more of just priming the pump, getting bigger slowly?
So, we actually have had some amazing people that love our product. It's not out yet. It's in early testing stages, but we've started to get linked up with some absolutely, kind of dream investors and supporters. And in this ecosystem, there are some good games already. Gods Unchained is probably one of the best examples. You have Sandbox, and then you have other kind of more very simplistic games like Axie Infinity and stuff like that. But, in the end, gamers, their loyalty is to the experience. Just adding that extra token incentive doesn't do it for them. They need the dopamine rush. And so if you're giving them the product that they love, and it's actually better than other products, then they'll hop on. And so, we're going to be releasing not one, but multiple games this cycle. And I hope sincerely that one of them is a really big hit. But whatever level of success we achieve, we're going to steamroll that and keep working on the game side. The game studio to me is I love building video games. I love this whole process. And so, we're going to keep at it. Hopefully, we can create some significant success that would attract other game developers to start joining in on it. As well as the infrastructure to give NFTs more utility and value. So I think it's a multi-part, I think the things that Rareable's doing is interesting, but it doesn't solve the big issue to me, which is how do you give these assets real value? How do you make sure that someone who has them understands why it's worth something more than just a temporary FOMO?
And for the folks at home, and even for me, describe your game. Is it the pineapple? Was it
pizza?
Pizza.
So it's temporarily currently named Pizza Heroes.
Right.
We named it that very early on, but instead of worrying about the branding or the promotion of it, we've been focused entirely on the gameplay. And so we describe it as sort of Fortnite meets Overwatch right now. It's kind of a team-based arena game where you have classes and abilities. And the first feedback we've had on it has been phenomenal. We definitely are going to keep working on that mode. But we're also doing a more casual mode, which is just a little bit more like obstacle courses and party games, kind of like a Mario Party style game. And the beautiful thing is you can, our assets that we sell, the NFTs, are cosmetic skins, dances and emotes and stickers. Those come with you no matter which game you're playing, whichever mode you're playing. And so as we expand the world, we're happy to hear feedback from our players as to what makes them the happiest to play, what they have the most fun in, and we'll lean more into those sort of use cases. But yeah, so that's our game, and we really wanted it to be a gameplay experience, which we think is the big missing link. Is if people were coming for the gameplay, then they would happily go through whatever extra learning there is to deal with the crypto side.
Now you develop on Tron, correct?
Actually, no, we're going to be on Ethereum. We originally were going to do the project on Tron. It ended up not being a fit for us. And so we're actually going to be on Ethereum. And so the project will be on Ethereum starting. We don't have a hard date set for our Ethereum launch, but we'll definitely let you guys know about it. But looking at Q4 this year. So.
Whoa, dude, nice.
Are you are you like the owner of the project or the founder? Or are you working for?
So no, I'm the founder, and yeah, pretty much this project has consumed every waking minute of my life when I'm not making content for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a huge undertaking making games. It's kind of like the combination of every art form of, sound, visual, animation, sort of the X factor of fun. It's a lot of different things, but it's a labor of love, and we've really fallen in love with the process and the grind of creating the gameplay experiences. So this is just the beginning of what I hope to be a multi-decade chapter of my life, which is making games. And obviously we have the love for blockchain and crypto, so I kind of see it as trying to really push the game studio to be its own type of gameplay in the mainstream gaming world, and then also trying to push the crypto side to have unique sort of utilities and interesting mechanics on the crypto side as well. So it's been a lot, but I'm absolutely in love with it, and yeah, I'm the founder as well as the CEO of it.
Would you say that what are your thoughts on Wax and Engine and those gaming platforms?
Decentraland.
Yeah.
So I think that they have, Wax has switched up a lot since its early days, because they had this vibrant market of assets that were trading on Steam. And then they kind of stopped doing that. And so I think they're in a very transitional phase. They're very much so not the OpSkins, OP Skins creator marketplace that I thought they were back in 2018. And so, they're in a transitional moment, but I've talked with them a few times. It seems like they're trying to push out some games. And I think that's the right path forward. But I'm definitely on a wait and see. I don't own any Wax. And I would want to see them really create some compelling games first. It seems like the games that they've pushed for are kind of, they're not the types of games that I see necessarily captivating a new generation or a new audience like that.
They're lame.
They're lame. Yeah, they're not good. And so, yeah, and again, the trading card game thing is cool. People see it as a very easy sort of mix with crypto, because you get an NFT and then you have a card and you can make a deck. And Gods Unchained really did great with that. But the trading card game world is small. It's not a big market. And so, when I think of games, I think of a lot of, shooter games, there's some sports games. But, I think that a game that hits more of a broader market, especially like a shooter game or a more competitive sort of esports game, like a MOBA kind of game. I think those are the types of games that I could see really, really causing, a huge adoption. And so obviously I'm happy for any level of it. But I do want to see those kind of AAA next gen games, because that's what I think is, if we're thinking that Tesla is the thing that made us like electronic cars, well, we need our Tesla here in gaming. And we've gotten a lot of Priuses, but we haven't gotten any Teslas here, even though the Prius is actually a nice car and did a lot. But, I think that that's really what I want to see. Engine, amazing. They did some great stuff with infrastructure. But again, where the gaming side is still very lacking to me, and so I'm not tremendously bullish on any of these gaming coins, the well-known ones yet, because I really think that the game is the key piece to the puzzle. And so when I see games that are like, wow, I would play that and pay for that, no, whether it was crypto or not, that's the feeling I want. And when I see that, you won't hear me stop talking about it.
Two questions before.
I was just saying, isn't that what Engine is trying to find as well? Like, they're trying to find that game or develop that game.
So I believe that you're not going to find it. I think after all this time, my belief is that it's not going to be something that's stumbled upon or something that you easily can incentivize to be done. I think it's just going to be a matter of there are great indie game successes that come out every year. And I think it's going to be most likely a kind of independent studio that comes up with something really, really, really quality. But then there's also probably the best game that I would say I could see being really, really successful is Blankos over on EOS. And they obviously are not an independent studio. I think they got like $40 million from the EOS fund. But they've been very quiet. But when they put out their recent trailer, I always said, you know what, I could see this thing absolutely taking off. I don't know how crypto they're going to push it. I don't know how much they're going to push the ownership. I don't know what kind of wallets they're going to give their users or anything like that. But as far as gaming titles, that's what I'm bullish on. Unfortunately, it's not exactly easy to invest in. There's not like a token, anything like that. I don't think it's going to pump EOS or anything like that. And so it's again, I think what people, the holy grail would be to have an amazing game and a token that you could buy that could potentially go up with the game. So that would be amazing. But it's so far, it's been sparse on that side.
Two questions before we move on from gaming to some random crypto questions, a lot from our audience. Number one, or in any order you want, first, you're developing on Ethereum now. Is Ethereum's high gas fees a problem? Obviously not. So how do you like wrap your head around that? And also, is your personal goal to get like bought out by Fortnite, something like that?
No, not really at all. You know, games are actually, when done right, are very, like, there's a lot of apps in the world, and you hear about acquisitions all the time. And even game studios now, you're hearing a lot of acquisitions because there's kind of like what happened with Netflix. And what it did for content, as you guys well know, was it really created a lot of new money for content because the demand for constant content became really overwhelming. There's a similar thing happening in video games where, you know, the demand for constant games and having a monthly subscription model is starting to emerge. And so that's really good for developers because there's a sort of buyer for what you're doing at all times in the form of Xbox and PlayStation. And so, and we're going to see more and more of that stuff. And so for me, no, games are really, you don't need to get really bought out when you do games well. There's plenty of revenue, and unless you really are just don't want to deal with it, there's a ways to really own it and be highly profitable. Whereas if you have like a social media app, sometimes it's really hard to monetize those. And so selling it to Zuckerberg is really the way to go because, you know, you're never going to see that money for decades unless you just take an exit. And so I think with gaming, you know, that's part of the reason why we chose gaming is there's revenue models built in, whereas a lot of these crypto projects, they fizzle out. Even a project like Neo, I remember Da Hongfei did an interview like last year where he was like, yeah, we're really trying to figure out what to do about money. Obviously we have a bunch in the bank, but maybe we'll sell some more tokens. It was like, well, there's got to be something besides dumping that can create sustainability for your ecosystem. And so that was part of the reason why we chose gaming is it has to be sustainable or else eventually it goes bye-bye. And so that's kind of my goal is to create a highly sustainable, high revenue model that can create a very vibrant ecosystem. And, you know, if Xbox wants to buy us one day, maybe we'll sell the game studio, but we won't sell our crypto or decentralized infrastructure like that. I don't see that being part of the plan.
And then you chose Ethereum despite its high gas fees.
So Ethereum, the thing about it is, you know, originally we were just going to build our game and have the token kind of be within our game. And we were building such cool, what I think of as cool mechanisms for our NFTs, which aren't commonly done. And we had this moment we were saying, why are we just building this for ourselves? Let's build these functions and make it available for everybody. And so that's why, you know, if you're going to build mechanisms for NFTs, well, 99.999% of NFTs are on Ethereum. So despite the high gas fees, going anywhere else was like a bit, it just wouldn't make sense for building decentralized infrastructure. We also plan to end up going interoperable and cross-chain, and Ethereum would be the first stop. And there's a bunch of really interesting work going on to really mitigate gas fees. But yeah, like you said, there's a very high likelihood we end up with some fee issue short term. But that would only come with some real crypto fever. And we know that in those climates, people tend to look past the fees because there's enough incentive there. So it's not great, the Ethereum gas fees, but we're optimistic about a variety of aspects of our move there.
And you chose it because you want to be able to basically connect with all these other projects building on Ethereum possibly? Like that's the draw, that you can be in that ecosystem?
So we already have some amazing partners in that ecosystem, and we're building infrastructure that I think, you know, we've been validated, right? We know that all these new projects are choosing Ethereum despite the fact that the congestion and the speeds and the fees. And so, you know, we believe our infrastructure is going to be highly sought after. And it's kind of like, why would we go away from the users? Eventually, if we want to integrate other blockchains, we can do that. But we want to start where the most value is created. So, if we're creating, we're solving for 99 out of 100 scenarios by going and starting on Ethereum, then we can go and start solving edge cases after that.
Very cool. Elliot, in our final 10 minutes, you up for some audience questions?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, you take them all the time on your live streams, so I know
I do.
You understand that you can answer as much or as little as you want. We have the spectrum. So in no particular order, first off, question by M. Dest M. How much volatility should we expect in the coming weeks due to the U.S. election?
Oof. Yeah, so, the election one's interesting because the polls are showing a landslide, but we've seen that before. We also know that there's sort of a Trump effect of people not wanting to talk about voting for Trump, and they people know that they shouldn't, I guess, or whatever the emotion is. So I personally am really just kind of on a wait and see. I do think that there's a traditional belief that a Republican president leads to more deregulation and less spending. But I don't think of him as very traditional. So, I think if Biden wins, I think that we'll see huge spending. And I think that huge spending will lead to at least short-term extreme bullishness in all markets. I think that if we end up with a mishmash of a blue House and a red Senate and then a blue administration, I think there could be some gridlock there, and I think that would probably be the worst thing. But I would say that coming into the election, we should probably expect some serious volatility because the markets are so emotional right now. They're so frothy right now, and a lot of them arguably very overpriced. And so it's to see some serious moves in one direction or the other would not surprise me. And yeah, I guess I'd be ready for anything right now in the markets because I'd be ready for anything in the election. I'd be ready for anything in the markets. But I do remain extremely optimistic that the next few months to a year or so will be a really amazing time for crypto.
For sure. And I will say, I think also what the markets hate most is uncertainty, because no matter if we get a Biden or Trump, like you said, they're spending. Nobody has commented on decreasing the debt. They're both going to spend. So in the short term, while there will be volatility, if you have long time preferences, if you hodl, you'll probably be okay.
Well, I think Trump said he was going to decrease the debt when he was running in 2016.
You're not supposed to quote him. You can't quote him back to him.
Right.
But at any rate, to me, I'm kind of like you guys, right? I'm pretty apolitical. I do believe strongly that we should take care of our environments, and that I do think global warming is a big issue. But there's a lot of I see so much toxicity in our politics that I try to really stay away from it. Especially we have an amazing crypto community here that we're trying to build larger. We're trying to add more people. Remember Metcalfe's law, the value of the network is worth n squared or whatever. Well, the reason why Bitcoin grew so much is because we were adding so many people. And I don't think politics is the way to add more people. I think if anything, it turns some people off. So my goal is really to expand this community through products, content, all that stuff. And so, that's why I kind of stay away from, insofar as I can stay away from it. Obviously the stimulus has been hyper relevant, but in so much as I can stay away from it, I stay away from it.
My political leanings are anti-corporatist, free speech absolutist, and just independent in general. Hey, I got a question. This is from somebody named Aaron Arnold. Hey, in the last 6 months, your channel is blowing up, man. Dude, you're killing it in the YouTube game. What do you attribute that to? How did you get, such great relevant content regularly?
I appreciate that, Aaron. Amazing crowd fan out there. I think the channel, I am deeply passionate about these topics. I also believe strongly in altcoins, and I think that I just had, combined with my experience of the last cycles, I think I had a pretty good read on what was happening. And I think that it was, the first few videos I put out, got good views, but I think over time, people saw that I was sort of putting my finger on the trends and identifying them, not saying I got every train or every coin right or anything like that, but I think my sort of macro approach over the course of, July and August, people really felt like, looking back on those videos, that I really hit the nail on the head. And I think that was what it was, is, I got quite a few of these calls right. And I think that's sort of, people became really, really interested in that, wanted to know how I got the calls right. And, I think that was what drove the content. Obviously, we've been making videos now for 3 years. So over time, you get better at videos. But, just all the editing in the world doesn't necessarily build the community. And so I think the community was really built off of me starting to really find a lane that I was able to create repeatable successes with the altcoins. And I think that was what it came down to.
Now, when you say you really believe in altcoins, you mean you really believe in trading altcoins, because 99% trend towards zero given enough time.
Facts, right? Those are facts. I believe that you need to understand altcoins and believe you need to do the work. And I believe that if you know how to play them, they can be extremely generous. And I believe that what people want out of crypto is provided by low cap gems. However, you need to know when to get in. You need to know when it's past time, when it's past prime. You need to know when to get out, and you need to know how to fight against your emotional sort of tug of war that happens when you're in one of these positions. And all that comes with experience, and so I believe that absolutely. Altcoins, when you said just HODL, I try to explain a HODL is not a term for alts. Like, you can hold alts, but you don't HODL alts. You hold, don't HODL, because HODL is like I could ignore the sky falling and I'm still just going to clutch my coins. But holding, it's like, all right, well, they got a little bit of bad news. There was a flash crash. I'll still see what's going to happen this next week. They'll still have, they'll have another product release and some. You can hold altcoins and know that, hey, if you think this one still has some legs in it, then hold on to it. But in the end, altcoins tend to have life cycles, and knowing when to get out is as important as knowing when to get in.
And speaking of that, I have 2 final questions. This is a question from Ben Lakoff. He says, for a new crypto investor, what sort of percent allocation would you recommend BTC/ETH? So if you had $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the new crypto trader in this climate, right? If we're looking at a climate where, sort of like July, August, where things are really hot, then I would say that you'd probably want to do about 50% of your coins in the majors, Bitcoin and ETH, and then you'd want to have another, 10 to 20% in what I'm calling the trending or sort of DeFi majors, if you will. If it's DeFi season, you're looking at like the Chainlinks, the Aaves, the Synthetics, the big Polkadots, for example, the big projects that have big tailwinds and seem to be getting a significant chunk of those gains. But you do want, depending on your risk appetite, you do want, probably like 10 to 30, maybe 25% of your coins in motion. And when I say in motion, they're in coins you believe in that really have a lot of room to grow, but you also know that these aren't stagnant, right? You have to manage these extremely actively. And if you can't be focusing on your altcoin portfolio every day, then don't do this, because stuff changes so fast. We saw the KuCoin hack. We saw the Coin Metro hack. We saw this Parsec flip of their token. We saw everything that happened in the blink of an eye. Things can change. And so if you're not able to respond, then holding these low cap alts, these low cap gems, if you will, is probably too much work, and you're probably going to end up losing that game. But if you are really, really, really hungry, if you're like in college or something and you got the time and you've really been doing the research and you think you understand, hey, I found this new one, it's just about to hit Uniswap, the team's legit, the product's blah, blah, blah. I have various reasons to believe that this project will get hype and it will get adoption. Well, then I think it's worth taking, 5% maybe of your coins max, probably, and saying, all right, I'm going to try this. If it starts to turn too much on me, and it doesn't look like there's a reason to expect to go back up, I need to cut my losses. But I think that that's probably for new people in the space. It's going to be hard to multiply your gains if you're not like in some of the smaller coins. It's just really hard. Or you can just let it in Bitcoin, or probably just Bitcoin. If you're just going to hold it and set it and forget it, Bitcoin's really the one you want to do that with, because all the other ones are potentially not going to be around in a couple of years. But if you really want the gains, it's hard to imagine getting repeatable successes with coins that are over 200 or 100 million market cap. I think it's very unlikely for you to get 10x's out of those. Whereas if you're putting in the work, you can really get gains out of the small ones. But you can just as easily lose that money. It can actually go to zero in those small coins. It can really turn on you. And so if you have your eyes wide open, your big boy pants on, as Ivan might say, you can make these decisions, but understand that it is very hard and it requires your full attention. But as far as like the $1,000, I would say at least 50% in Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? And some people could have different opinions as to which one. I think they're both entering, and Ethereum to me is entering a similar risk profile to Bitcoin, but still Bitcoin is much safer. And then you're looking at, the DeFi coins. I would say that you'd want to be have like about a quarter of them in the majors of the cycle. Without going too deep, the Chainlinks, the Oracles, the DeFis, the Polkadots, those coins, the Kusama, Polkadot kind of coins, those coins will probably show tremendous strength and will probably outpace Ethereum and Bitcoin. And then you have your kind of, it's not like, these are your high risk plays, and you want to keep those under a quarter of your portfolio, and you don't want to be overexposed to any single one.
And our audience might be surprised to hear that, I do trade altcoins as well. I mean, a lot of times on the videos I make, I devote a lot of time to talking about the long-term value prop of Bitcoin. But, I do want to be exposed to the altcoin gains. And I actually take profits liberally back into Bitcoin. And sometimes I lose money. A lot of times I gain money. So it's definitely something you can do, but it is risky.
Well, you learn the dark. It's like, I call it a dark art, because you learn, it's not like facts and data so much as you learn the motion of the ocean, and you're like, wow, I can feel the hype, the influencers of these types of people. I can see I'm getting told this from 6 different perspectives. I'm hearing about it in my Telegram. I'm hearing about it on YouTube. I'm hearing about it on Twitter. The market cap makes sense. The use case, comparison points. Like, there's a variety of fundamentals, which they're not really fundamentals, they're just data points. But if you get good at it, I've seen some people even better than me just absolutely kill it. And so I don't want to sell you guys a false dream and say that this is just easy money. It's not. It's hard money, but it comes fast if it's done right.
And my final question, we actually got this a lot when we reached out on Twitter for questions for Elliot. What is the secret project you're working on, and how do I get in? Is that the game that you talked about earlier?
So the secret project is this NFT infrastructure that we're going to be launching, and that is something that can be gotten into. And the coin will also have utility within our game, but it is not sort of mutually exclusive to the game. It's just part of the utility. But it's really, when we started seeing all the things we were doing with NFTs, we realized that there was a real opportunity to make these tools open, decentralized, and public. And we think that that really fits the crypto ethos better anyway. And so, we're excited to show it. Everyone's waiting, and so we will be happy to update you, but I can't do any grand reveals right now.
Well, wait a second. You're launching your own coin?
There will be a coin. There will be a platform.
Is this an ICO?
No, it won't be. No, it won't be the ICO format. No.
Aren't you worried about like regulatory thing, like creating your own coin?
Very much so, yeah. And that's why we have some of the best lawyers in the world.
Oh, good.
Hey, just blink twice if this is accurate. This is like a Rarible, but maybe with some automated market features like a Uniswap.
No.
Okay. I just threw words together.
I love what you did there, though. I love what you did there. I think what we're going to do is very exciting for people. Yeah, the regulatory landscape is annoying, and that's why we're trying to really make sure that we, do things the best way possible, protect, and the main thing for us is it's not about money. We've actually built a lot of this out of our own pockets and from our investors, and so a lot of the ICO issues are, essentially trying to milk a bunch of money from the market and do it in an irresponsible way. And we're actually kind of inverting that, and we're actually building as much value as we can and delivering it to the market way before the token. And so that's kind of how we hope to lead, and we hope to set an example for other projects that, just like in the normal tech world, you have to be a lot further along before you get big help. And so, we wanted, as I told you guys about this project 2 years ago, right? And it's been evolving since we first hung out in 2018. And it continues to evolve. And, as tempting as it is and was 2 months ago to just throw stuff out in whatever format, it doesn't align with my values and with what I believe the project is deserving of. And so we're slow playing it, and we want to have a sort of fully realized ecosystem that's ready for consumption once we hit that starting bell. And we think that that's a big difference from what you're seeing as a lot of the issues out there, both from regulatory standpoint as well as from just adoption and value. You see, I don't want just the hype. I think hype's great, but I want the hype to be founded on a tremendous amount of value. And that's kind of what our approach.
Is this Q1 2021?
It's ASAP, right? It's ASAP, and so we're pushing our developers, really smart team actually, formerly at Engine, some of our guys, so they're part of that sort of foundational NFT infrastructure crowd, and we have just some really, really amazing people behind us. And as you can tell, I'm fighting myself not to reveal it right now. It's very tempting, but I would love to come back and chat with you guys once we have a little bit of that stuff more public facing.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. But anyway, Elliot, man, thank you so much. I am actually like a big fan of your channel, man. I always like to surround or hear different voices and different podcasts and different YouTube channels and try and like figure out what's going on. And I think you have a really good channel.
Thank you guys. And I personally follow you guys. I watch your videos each and every day. I love what you guys do for bringing the type of content that people can just really sink their teeth into. You guys bring the entertainment, you bring the drama, and you also bring a really level-headed perspective that I think is super good for especially for newer people, but also for people who, maybe they don't, maybe this whole low cap gem thing isn't right for them. It's not right for everybody, maybe they just want to learn about the space. And I think you guys provide an amazing education, and I'm huge fans of what you guys do.
Appreciate that. The thing is, we do it both sometimes. Sometimes we'll talk about Bitcoin long-term and get on a bunch of maximalists. Sometimes we'll talk about low cap gems. And so it's like, sometimes it's like this space is so tribal. It's, I don't know, like, we're getting hit with all directions from people who want us to do more altcoin stuff or more Bitcoin stuff.
Well, you guys just got to be yourselves. And I think you do a good job of you don't have your blinders on, but you don't necessarily just jump just because someone tells you they want to hear about something. You don't necessarily make a video on it. And I think that's the right way to do it, is you got to have your own compass. And you guys have shown over the years that you really have a good barometer for the types of things you want to let on the channel. So I think you guys do a great service.
Guys, in the audience, let us know your thoughts about the episode down below in the comment section. Hit the like button, and we'll see you next time.